Calling the meeting to order. All members are present except for Rick, which hopefully we can relate. So we will be starting with communication items.
Okay. So we'll start off by inviting our elementary principal up and get an update, hear what's going on for the start of the school year at the elementary.
Good evening. All right. We've been busy. It's been 5 days. We've been in session. We've had a successful 5 days welcoming students back into school. Wanted to just touch on some highlights. We had our meet and greet August 28th and September 3rd. About 98% of our families attended again this fall, coming to see their classrooms, meeting their teachers, connecting with transportation. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Paynesville Motor and Transfer for being at our meet and greet and answering those transportation questions before that first day of school. We had a special visitor from CHAMP who did a nice job at taking some photos with students as they came that night. That was a fun time for kids. Back to school assembly, we had that on Monday, and again we had Champ the Bulldog to help us review our big three: mindful, connected, and respectful. We reviewed whole group assembly expectations and just had a fun time coming back together. We had our fundraiser kickoff, we sang our school song, as well as other fun festivities throughout the assembly. During the first few days of school, myself and Mr. Mathiasen visited all grade levels and held the student kind of meetings, welcoming them back to school, giving them a face with Mr. Mathiasen's name, and he was able to connect with all students out on the playground, went through expectations, and then we talked about the hallway, cafeteria, bathroom, common places throughout the school, and talking about our big three. September is a busy time for our multi-tiered systems of support staff, which we'll be hearing more about perhaps at an October, November board meeting where we will share data again. But they've been benchmarking students just in the areas of reading and math, and that allows us to make data-informed decisions and how we can respond to students where they're coming back in the fall in the area of reading and how we can meet their varying needs. Looking ahead, we have Picture Day right around the corner, September 18th, and then again on October 15th. Our yearbooks are on sale, so information will be going out tomorrow in our Bulldog Bark. And then homecoming is right around the corner. It seems really fast this year, but we're getting ready to plan those fun festivities too. We'll have a parade again on that Friday where the high schoolers come over and walk through our halls and get us pumped up for homecoming. And then at the bottom, I'm just leaving my goals on for the year so that way we can circle back to those. Certainly getting ready with some of our Minnesota READ Act items, working closely as we review data and respond to data here in the next coming weeks.
Questions for Cassie? All right, thank you much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. And then we'll move over to secondary and ask Jesse to let us know what's going on at the secondary. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, everybody. So I just wanted to say we had an awesome first week of school here. I was really excited about that. I'm just thankful for the professional staff that we have at the secondary building that was willing to help students navigate some of the changes with the AB schedule and moving to lead time and 5-period blocks. So the staff really kind of came together, stepped up, and really helped people get where they needed to go. So it's a really, really fun first week. One of our big focuses has been on PBIS expectations and going through expectations with students. And so if you walk the halls, you'll see posters that say core values on them. And so our big lift for us was going through and talking to individual students and grade levels about what our core expectations are of students so that we're all familiar here in the building. And then Mike and I got the opportunity to meet with each grade individually on the first day of school and just kind of talk about the ins and outs and how things work and where they should work and when they should show up and things like that. And it was just a great time for them to get to meet Mike and for us to kind of share some important information about the building. So really a fun start to the school year. So Looking ahead, it is crazy how busy September is. Right now, we're in the middle of our, Cassie talked about this, but we're in the middle of our fall benchmarking window. So right now, we're benchmarking all students up through grade 10 to get an idea of where they are, and that sort of is a big driver for our MTSS program and determining what supports to give to students. So it's a big thing going on right now in lead time is benchmarking. We have FFA Plot Day coming up here on Thursday. I encourage you, if you have not been out to Plot Day yet, to get out there. It is just an incredible thing that the FFA puts on. They have amazing food and just a cool opportunity to see things that are going on out there. This year, their focus is on their new water management system, and a cool opportunity to see that, and just to be able to see students can learn about things in ag that they wouldn't normally have the experience to learn. So very, very cool opportunity coming up. Bus safety is on Wednesday, September 18th, and then Cassie pointed to it, but our homecoming week is coming up, and it's early this year. And so our student groups, our student council groups are already in full swing, getting ready and getting all that planned and ready to go for September. Just a reminder of things that are going on that week. We have coronation on Monday at 7 o'clock in the auditorium. Cross-country home meet is on Tuesday. Volleyball home meet is on Thursday. Friday, we have our Pep Fest and our celebration here. And then one of my favorite things is heading over to the elementary to do the homecoming parade there. It's a really exciting time. And then homecoming football on Friday, and then the dance on Saturday. So just a really big full week at the end of September here that we're getting ready for. So,
Questions for Mr. Rasmussen?
Not a question, but a comment. I like that you guys are pushing out those core values. Get everybody on the same sheet of music. Everybody have that understanding of this is what we hold, as far as those students, for this is what we expect, people, as far as treat, I don't know what they are, but how they treat each other, but this is really where we start as far as that foundation. So very good. I really appreciate that you guys do that.
perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, activities. What do we have going? I'm not a thing, huh? Yeah.
Things are kicking off. We're ready to get things going again. We're excited to be back. I was just down in the PAC watching volleyball for the last about hour and a half or so, and it's awesome. So blessed to have that space. I know I've said that multiple times, but we have 3 different courts going on. I sat and visited with a parent who had daughters playing on multiple courts, so she's able to be in one space and watch multiple daughters play at the same time. And we're out of here. Fans are out of here by 6 o'clock and they're back home. It's not like years ago if we had to play back to back at the elementary or something, or in the middle school gym, and all of a sudden games are going until 7 o'clock. People are out of here at a reasonable time and back home to finish up their day, but it's just awesome. So it's a lot of fun seeing all those people back. Like we said before, we have homecoming coming up in a couple weeks, so that's gonna be a big week with cross country on that Tuesday, right at our course here, Coronas Hills. And then we have 15 boys and girls teams competing that day. So it'll be crowded up there. And then Thursday we have volleyball at home, and then Friday is football at home. So lots going on. Check the schedules out. Can be a lot of things going on here, but that's the way we like it and we want it. Soon we're gonna be looking to line up winter workers here in the next probably month or so. So again, if anybody's hearing anybody who's interested, maybe starting to look to try to get some basketball officiating in or anything like that, we're always looking for people willing to help train and provide equipment and anything else that they need to get started. So just getting those people to get started is the hardest thing. So and also trying to keep being kind to those officials so they like coming back. Recently, our CMC conference had our ADs meet, and we made the decision to not allow red, white, and blue or USA themed student sections right now, at least until the elections are over, just because it's very controversial and kind of a hot button topic right now, and people tend to be very much one side or the other. So just to try to avoid any of that and not have anybody wear anything to support or to be disrespectful to the other party, we're trying to stay away from that. And plus we've had instances in the past couple of years where flags have been worn, and that's both disrespectful to the flag and those who served to honor it. So our conference just felt it was best, and it's not just our conference, there are other schools around the state too that feel it's best just to steer clear of it, and wait till the election's over. And this in no way, shape or form is intended to, discourage pride towards our country or our colors. So just wanted to make sure we talk about that, because I know there's one school in our conference that had somebody who was contacting the school and talking about it. And again, just no way, shape or form is it intended to discourage that pride in our country or its colors. Some new information from the State High School League. This fall, they're gonna vote on whether to include 9th grade level as part of its group that they govern. So the way it's been now, it's been 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, because years ago when it first started, most high schools were 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. But now schools are getting a little bit smaller, and most of them are either 9 through 12 for high school, or 7 through 12, or 6 for 12. So they're deciding to whether or not they want to include 9th grade into that insurance policy and to track forms and eligibility. So most schools right now track all those forms and eligibility because we need to. So it's not really going to change a lot from our end as far as what we do and what we track, but just something that they're going to look to start administering possibly with a vote in the next couple of weeks. And I'd like to conclude by thanking our coaches. Just think about all the long days they have already, all the prep time that they go into their regular school day, and then they go into the gyms from 3:20 to 5:30 for practices, or they have road games where they're getting back late. And think of all the, they don't just worry about one or two, they worry about everybody in their program, right? So just think of all the stuff that they do and all the time they invest into our kids and our programs and make those connections that last a lifetime. Just really appreciate everything that they do and all the prep time and weekend time and tournaments and stuff like that. Just can't thank them enough for all that they do. So with that, any questions?
Yeah, on the red, white, and blue. So the restriction goes away after the election?
That's what we're going for.
I don't get that. If it's a restriction, you leave it on.
It certainly is something we could
Because that is just wrong. Otherwise, you're destroying whatever. I don't know how this is tied to what party or whatever, but, boy, we have to be really careful of restricting freedom of speech. And to have it till November 5th, and then everything is okay, it's a free-for-all. You should be just, if you're gonna do something like that, it should just go away,
Bruce, I think.
in fairness.
Yep, I think the group has talked about trying to frame sportsmanship, trying to frame the spectators across the board in a positive light. I would not be surprised if this is revisited midway through to acknowledge that this really has changed the demeanor across, and it could be continued. I think the primary conversation came around really trying to get in front of negative, having negative candidate support and having to police what's in the crowds for all parties and all political action. And if it's done consistently, and again, not intending to be partisan, but really working to say, are you following where the
It doesn't
logic
work.
came from?
If you're just continuing on November 5th, it doesn't work, because then it is against some party. Okay, so you just don't want it there, it shouldn't be there. That's all I'm saying. I don't think that you should be going out and next thing they're gonna come up with something else that you're gonna stop on November 5th, and what party's gonna do what? Well, we're all in the United States of America. If red, white, and blue is the description, I'm not following all of this, I read some stuff on different things, and it's just like I'm not following this. I don't know necessarily even what party this is coming from, but I expect it's come
that's
from
the
both.
point.
Because they're both are talking about USA, right? But does that mean when you're talking about USA and our colors, that's a bad thing? I don't get it. Now, if there was other things, then that's a different picture. I know a number of years ago, some banners rolled out in the gymnasium. Everybody panicked over that. Well, that's probably maybe a little over the edge, bringing politics to school. But if you're talking about our flag, And that's the United States of America. I don't care what party you belong to, it's still the United States of America.
Right.
And it hasn't changed. The only one that changes is we have some of the states have changed flags.
So one of the things that has occurred on those days is that we do see a lot of political endorsement through a day that's themed to be red, white, and blue. Okay?
So to
So-
endorse our one candidate and slander the other a lot of times.
And that's the intent of trying to say, we're not going to prohibit one party or another. And this was a conference discussion, this wasn't unique to us, because this has been observed across all of the schools. The other piece that we do really try to get in front of is how students are using the flag. And that's been part of our teaching, right? And so if we see students that are wrapping themselves up in a flag, for example, we're addressing that to say that's not the respectful methodology of wearing a flag. A flag shouldn't be sat on.
Technically, freedom of speech and freedom says you can.
We're going down a slippery slope here.
Yeah,
Digging a hole and making more than what it's gotta be, but unfortunately, this is the world now.
well, if it was me to cut it short, I wouldn't restrict it to November 5th because all of a sudden we became political,
And that's,
right?
you know, that's.
Restrict it all the time.
That's a
If they're
discussion
wrapping
that we
themselves
can
in
have.
flag all the time,
Yep,
then just restrict it 100%.
yep.
Because it is political when it all goes away on November, whatever, 4th or 5th or whatever it is.
Well, the good news is, one of our student sessions themes was already this before we made this announcement, was the USA theme, and it was a road game. Didn't have any negative feedback from it, seemed like it was all positive, so hopefully our kids are making the right choices and wearing it for the right reasons. So that was one thing that already occurred, but just trying to communicate what our conference decided.
I just have one short question, and I'm doing it at a meeting so that our community can hear it. There was some objection to some of the music at a home game. Has that been addressed?
It has,
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Yep.
I just want our community to hear it.
yep. And I received, in addition to your feedback, I received some additional feedback, so it certainly has been addressed.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right,
I have a question, I guess, and Rick, I don't know if this pertains to you or whatever, but, I don't know who sent letters out regarding, Huddle. Apparently Paynesville area school is transitioning to Huddle, HUDL, TV live streaming.
yep,
I got a letter, a bunch of businesses got letters. Their minimum offering is $1,000. It's up to $5,000. So what's all that about? I thought we had a technology thing going ahead here. What are we trying to do there?
sure, that's a sponsorship for your signage and your, for the signage and advertising that is played on the Huddle live stream, and it's part of the production and the advertising. The Huddle has nothing to do with, that's provided regardless of the sponsorship. That letter went out to potential sponsors for advertising.
Yeah, but they gotta make the checks out to Paynesville area schools. Who's getting that money?
So it's a collaboration between the Booster Club and the live stream, our live stream community ed program. So the Booster Club gets the signage money, and then the live stream has the sponsorship for the live commercials. And that was previously, there was a group that just did the Bulldog live stream. So we had multiple entities reaching out to businesses for sponsorships. So this brought everything together with one, instead of having multiple individuals approaching businesses for sponsorships.
So it allows them to promote their businesses and it still keeps the live stream free. Because there are schools very close down the road from us who do not have any sponsorships, who require fees from viewership. So this was,
Letter goes of a minimum of $1,000. set the bar pretty high, but good luck.
Well, they were 750 per season prior. It was 750 for fall, 750 for spring, and 750 for winter. So, I mean, there are people that have said no, and there are people who have said, yes, we'll participate.
No, that's fine. I just was curious. I didn't know anything about it, and there were a few phone calls, and I didn't know anything about it. So, okay.
All right, anything else? Okay, all right, thank you. Come on up, Chris, what's happening in community ed?
All right, good evening. Oh, community ed, we've started our fall programming. Registration and our classes are on pace as usual. Most of our classes will be kind of gearing up and starting next week. We had a few start early. But we are just getting into that time where the community ed classes will get going. So we're on track with that. School year, as Cassie had talked about, we've been 5 days in. So I put a lot of focus on the preschool, our wraparound care, and our school time, or our before and after school pause program. So in our preschool program, it's been going. I have extra staff on for the first 3 days to make sure we can get kids where they need to be. There was a lot of crying by lots of people, no, mostly kids. But I think the second and third day we had probably the most crying, because that's when the preschoolers realized that school's is more than 1 day. So they have now realized that they are going every day. So there's been that, but they're getting better as we get into routine, and as we move around the school building, they're figuring it out. We have all new staff in our wraparound care program. We have new staff, new room, doing things a little differently. So I've been spending a lot of time in those spaces to just help them help staff and support what they're doing in that program. In our pause program, we have 107 contracts, but I do still have 13 kids on a wait list. I've been trying to find staff, and it's just difficult. It's a hard spot to fill. Those timeframes are hard to fill. So unfortunately I don't have a timeline as when I can open additional slots, but we did have to put 13 students on a wait list so that we can stay in our correct numbers. Fitness center, this summer we painted one of the rooms and gave it a deep clean, so now we have the equipment in there. We moved some equipment around and tried to create some more space. So if you haven't been down there, check out the back cardio room. We use a lot of, obviously, our colors that are around the school. So it's no longer purple in there, and it's now the correct colors. So, and hopefully next year we'll look at buffing up the floor and making that look good. And we are we are also still looking for PAC staff, so we're looking for an adult supervisor. That's what we're looking for. We have plenty of students that are interested in working at the PAC, but now we're looking for some adult supervision in the evening. That's a big focus that we'll be on. And just the PAC is becoming busy. It's busy with sports, it's busy with we'll have a volleyball tournament at the end of October, and we have people who are gonna get back into pickleball. So it is going to gear up and be a busy place again. What's coming up, believe it or not, I'm planning for winter, and that catalog comes out in December, so deadline for things to come in on November 1. And one final thing I did miss, I'm working on the playground, the early childhood playground project. We will be featured at the Community Foundation Gala at the end of September. So I've been working on our presentation, our slides, our sponsorship brochure. And we will also have, I will have an opportunity to promote an upcoming raffle that the Legion has come in and said they would sponsor, and we are excited about that. That'll be a great fundraising effort that just kind of walked in our door, so I'm very happy about that. So a lot to work on, but we are excited about the opportunities. Any questions?
Keep doing what you do. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you. And buildings and grounds, let's hear what's happening across the district that way.
Good evening. Well, this last couple of weeks have been really busy for Ken, and I don't know what I've all done. I don't know if you heard, but Brad did go down here for a week or two. So I've been without him, so I've been busy trying to just keep up on his sort of stuff and so on and so forth. I gotta say, I really enjoy the hallways in the mornings and in between classes. You see the chatter going on, the smiling kids' faces. I really enjoy this time of year again. It just brings a whole new perspective, and I enjoy it thoroughly. So, other things I've got done, south parking lot. Close up, it probably doesn't look perfect, but a couple more stripes and I'll get her down better and better. We'll make it look like a parking lot. So we got it striped pretty good. We had the merry-go-round at the elementary school go down. There were a couple bearings out. We got the bearings ordered and they're in the maintenance shop. We'll get that put back together soon, reassembled, so the kids can have fun on that. The roofs, I did get back there, were in contact with me, and that's moving forward now again to get that whole project on the list and moving forward, so that's great to hear. The entryways, 7 and 8, actually 7 you probably didn't even know about, but 8 was sagging so bad, so that's on the agenda to get that moving forward here. So we'll probably have to rope that off here for a while, and we'll be talking about that further. Science upgrade, BCI was in to do a final thing late last week, I believe, somewhere in there. Talked to them about softball complex as long as they were in, and that kind of went on silent ears, I haven't heard anything back on that. They're like, yeah, I'll talk to them about it, and just don't hear anything, so I'm thinking they're just behind, and she said they were behind, so. That's all I really have. Any questions for me?
What do you do in your spare time?
I could answer that, but I probably shouldn't. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Enrollment update?
Enrollment update, all right, so this is the meeting where we kind of take a look at our opening day enrollment. And I'll just kind of remind everybody, we knew that our numbers were gonna be down. We graduated a large class, we had a smaller enrolling kindergarten class, so that we knew some of those things were coming. If you take a look at, so this is the enrollment as of today, September 10th, and you'll see elementary school has 407 students, the secondary has 471. You'll see that the numbers in column B and column C are, so column C is the total, so we've had 31 students total enroll elsewhere. So then you wonder, okay, so where are they going? So we had 16 students move there to another district, so they enroll in their district of residence, so like physically moving. We had 4 students homeschool. We had 6 students open enroll to another district. We have no students enrolled at the ALC right now. And we've had 5 that have moved out of state and out of country, which is kind of unique, and that's different for us. So there's a lot more fluidity there. You'll see that we have 22 new students to the elementary, and we have 10 new students to the secondary, so our cumulative net gain is still 1 student. If you take a look at that over the course of, and what I like about this document and why I've kept this document coming forward is because you can look from 2020, where we had a cumulative loss of 23, to, each year you can see we gained 7 students, to then the following year is another 7 students. In 23, we gained 12 students, and then in 24, it was a net gain of 1. So kind of a running tally for enrollment, which I think is important for us to keep an eye on. You know, you'll see in the newspaper, I had the conversation, am I concerned? Does this give me a huge reason for pause? And I would say no, because one of the other pieces is we have 91 students enrolled in our preschool program. We've added a section of 3-year-olds and a section of 4-year-olds. That's high in demand, and that's a good feeder into our elementary programming. So those are things that I think are all important for us to keep in the forefront. And then now continuing to look forward, you know, as I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, we have some large bubbles of kids where we have movement. And so those are all things that we need to continue to be responsive to. And that doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to this, but we also look at long-term, what are the numbers gonna do? And we expected this dip in our enrollment. So with that, I would stand for questions that you have about opening day enrollment.
I'm not concerned, like yourself, but you know, I'm not concerned with the numbers. And really, the big thing, and you touched on it, is the preschool side of it. And I think, for like Cassie and her staff over in the elementary school, knowing that this is gonna be coming, it's kind of that breather for them of, let's get ready for that bow wave to hit us. If we do get those large numbers that come in. So, I like I said, I'm not concerned. I looked at those numbers when we had gotten some information on it, and I think we're heading in the right direction. So
Certainly, we keep an eye on enrollments. We continue to have conversation about kids that are, again, ins and outs, and those are all things to continue to pay attention to, and continue to look at what we're doing to feed our elementary programs. The one piece that I think is, I've talked about in previous years too, is the fluidity of kids. We have more kids moving than we ever used to have, and it happens later in the school year. You see it, we have kids enrolling the week before school, and that's hard to plan for. But at the same time, I think our staff have really done a nice job being responsive, and they're ready. So we'll take kids whenever they come.
I think it's also good that you did the breakdown of where these students have gone from last year and then starting this year, for everybody to have that understanding that we don't have that. So that number that have left this place, except for the graduating class, didn't open a roll out. All of that whole number did not open a roll out, which I think is good.
Yeah.
It shows that we have a very strong school district, and which means that the programs that we offer, the education we offer, is something that's keeping a lot of people here, and also bringing students in that are open enrolling into our district, which is very positive. So
I was just curious, does the open enrollment fluctuate, or is it pretty steady?
I haven't tracked it yet this year. I do track that throughout the school year. And we have years that we ebb and flow. For the most part, we've been either a net gain or neutral, but I will track that again for the board.
And homeschooling, same thing.
Yeah, our homeschooling, and I'll have to ask Miranda, but I think they're pretty consistent as well, because they're included. Let me pull up the. They're included in the choosing to homeschool and enroll with an online provider. So okay. There's four families.
Okay, I know over COVID there were a lot more.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
But we as a district are not unique.
No.
Because all the times I've seen the reports, it doesn't make any difference. Go all around here, they
statewide.
have similar numbers.
Yeah.
Similar percentages.
Yep. And homeschooling as a general is on the rise across the state, and I would say across the country. There's been a higher percentage, and it varies as to why families will select, but it's been an increasing phenomenon. Shall I
I'm
move
just
on?
thinking, as we look to the future, are we coordinating our view with the city and looking at, they should be looking at the future of Paynesville. I mean, do they see growth coming? Are they monitoring things?
Yep.
I mean, we see a lot of new houses going up, but as we try to predict the future, which is the hard part, do we know 5 years from now there'll be 100 more kids in the community?
Right.
Does the city have any
You know,
statistics or do they do any kind of futuring?
I don't know that they have a scientific mathematical calculation for it. I do know that I had an opportunity to be part of a strategic planning discussion, and the city of Paynesville is definitely focused on growth. You'll see that there is more movement on housing. I think that's a positive indication that there's some focus on growth as a community. I think multiple organizations and entities are having conversation about childcare because that can often be a barrier for families to come to Paynesville, because if you can't find childcare, and if I have to bring my kids elsewhere, you know, why wouldn't I just live where I have to bring my kids? So those are all ongoing discussions that. And the city of Paynesville has been part of that discussion. I've had conversations with the Community Foundation. I've had conversations with the Lions Club in Paynesville that all have interest in how we can make sure that there's some community, and that may not be the school's lift, but the school definitely has an impact, and it has an impact on us, so we definitely have skin in that game, right? So all of that to say that I know the city is also looking at, if they're gonna build houses and have opportunities for young families, we also have to look at what opportunities do we have to support family growth within our community. So they all kind of go, not one can live in isolation.
It'd be interesting to know how many people who work at the hospital don't actually live in Paynesville, but might live here if they had housing, because there's a lot of people working there. And when I'm in interaction with them, a lot of them do not live here.
Nope. Yeah.
And a lot of them are young and they have kids.
Yeah, yep. For sure.
Okay,
All right.
any other questions about the enrollment? Then we'll move on to recognition days.
Okay, so recognition days, I just wanted to pull these out. So one of the things that we recognized as an administration is that we never wanted people or groups or individuals to, I guess, be missed, and sometimes they were recognized in one site, not the other. So we kind of did some, I'm all about working smarter, not harder. So we looked to some surrounding districts and some colleagues, and these are some ideas that came forth as a methodology just to kind of acknowledge. These are the days that we recognize certain, you'll notice the School Board Association, they took a little, they gave us a little curveball and moved recognition from January to September, and we went, oh, okay. So that's on in September. You'll see just, I guess, again, and trying to, a proactive way to recognize the people and the some of the just the different activities throughout the school year. So this was just here as an FYI to you as a board, that these are things that administratively we're trying to be consistent across both buildings and make sure that we just recognize staff and activities and events throughout the course of the year. So it doesn't require action or anything, but I thought it was important to have in front of you as a board to see kind of what administratively we were thinking about.
And that's basically something we leave in your lap as administration to acknowledge these different events.
Yep, exactly. Strategic plan review. So I'll pull up, there's not a lot of significant changes since we've reviewed this in July, but a couple of things that I just will draw to your attention. So as both Jesse and Cassie talked about, with regards to, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller only so I can see the goals too. So with regards to PBIS and really talking about like the big three and LEAD, it really is about trying to be proactive and helping our student body understand what the expectations are proactively instead of coming back after the fact saying, well, actually, you know what, we really do expect you to be respectful and here's what it looks like. So there's proactive conversation about what it looks like and sounds like as well. So those continue to be, and those are all part of that first goal about the social emotional wellness and growth of our student body. And so there has not been any change there. We have had administratively a lot of conversation about the components of the strategic plan that identify wellness standards and then how we would develop kind of professional learning communities around the wellness standards and the anchored kind of components of wellness. And really, we've had conversation about the CASEL standards, which really are what drive the social emotional learning and the well-being of all of our students and staff. And so we're talking about how do we bring that conversation to our staff and how do we bring that conversation to our students about wellness as a whole person, not just kind of your social emotional learning, but wellness as a whole kind of as a whole person, I guess. Really not trying to do it in isolation. And so that does continue to be a conversation. The other thing I wanted to draw to your attention is that I have, I believe right now I'm up to 8 individuals across the district, 8 parents and community members that are part of our district advisory committee. That's been part of a conversation of how are we engaging our parents and our community members to bring them into the school. And so these are all conversations that I see that as another platform to say, what does this look like what are you hearing and how would you like this to look? So we can engage parents in that conversation. And also just have them give us their insight as to what they see and is happening at the school. And so all of that kind of the growth of the community or the growth of our school district and our communication really kind of anchors around those items. So again, our district advisory committee and continuing the conversation around wellness standards and what that looks like. They're really it's wellness standards. When I look at the strategic plan, it was kind of a vague reference that I'm not 100% sure where that came from in the initial conversation, but it really does align with looking at a whole person and then talking to our advisory council and giving them some opportunity to provide some insight as well. So. Those are kind of the main areas. Again, you'll see where I just have notations. Our PLCs, our professional learning communities, our QComp committee has done a lot of work this summer in really defining roles and responsibilities, and professional learning communities are one of the embedded activities that is part of QComp, and it's actually a requirement of our teacher development and evaluation model. And our group has had a lot of really proactive conversations. So I'm excited to see where our professional learning communities evolve over the course of the year and how some of these conversations can also live in those spaces. So one of the other things that goes in regards to our communication opportunities and when I communicated with the board about the expanded opportunities for the Huddle live streaming, we'll have the capacity to live stream more of the elementary programs. So our Veterans Day program, our elementary programs in the auditorium. So we have the cameras that have been purchased, but those will now be able to be part of our live stream opportunities as well. So we're really hoping to expand what our community that isn't just here in present moment can access from our students and our staff. So more to come on that as well. And then so the other piece that we've proactively talked about for communication is really using the administration, both Cassie and Jesse, how they meet with their leadership teams and having some consistent topics so that we're sure that as issues are arising, the stakeholders in the buildings have an opportunity to give feedback. And that's also been kind of one of the reasons for us shifting our meet and confer process. Back in the day, meet and confer was essentially used to develop the calendar. And meet and confer by definition is intended to be about proactive communication to address things that are happening that maybe management and administration don't know about. So I think that that's another really important tool for us when it comes to communication. We can understand what's happening and try to be proactive and get in front of things instead of having misunderstandings or disconnect. Parents will often tell teachers what they're hearing, feeling, thinking, understanding. Then our teachers have an opportunity to meet with, from a leadership perspective, with their administration. And then we can also use it through a formalized process of meet and confer. So really working on improving our communication across the district and buildings that way as well. And then our fiscal responsibility continues to be, just be the focus of one of the key focuses of our strategic plan. So not a ton of structural changes, but just wanted to bring you up to speed on a couple of those things that have been happening over the course of summer and fall.
Any questions?
I guess I've got a question that maybe veers off a little bit, but when you talk about communication, and I know technology, I don't know who that we need to speak to, but on the that Bulldog app, why can't we get somebody to fill in as far as what the lunch menus are? I noticed that's been blank. A lot of times last year it was wrong. I guess shouldn't be that difficult.
Yep.
I was wondering if that's something that could be corrected here in the coming weeks.
Yep, I can sure take a look at that.
I mean, we passed a technology levy and you know, we can't just do some of those basic things, so even like being virtual like this, it's pretty sad. Us as adults should be able to get this figured out. So we're definitely have taken a step back, but I know we're supposed to be positive and pat everybody on the back, but these are just some things that I see as a problem, but I don't want to be negative either, but it looks bad.
Okay, I'll have somebody look into the app. That's not a problem. Yep.
So we talked about this group of people representing the community and everywhere else. So we need to look at this, and everybody's looking at home. Embedded SEL throughout all grade levels. PBIS. So who's reading this that isn't sitting here that knows what that means?
Sure.
You know, we never write them out. This is on a computer. It's nothing to do with copy and a paste.
Yeah.
We never write that out. So we got this few little letters meaning this and that. And so if we're trying to gauge the community, maybe it wouldn't hurt to start writing stuff out.
Sure.
Or, yeah,
It's been going on for a long time.
does it all have to be written out, or can we have a glossary someplace that people can go to?
Terminology.
Terminology glossary where you can
Yep.
click on and
Yep.
here's where they all are.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's just
Because
that,
it's not just, it might need to have an explanation. Even if you have the full name in there, it still might puzzle people as to what it is.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's just something that I see it all over. We're
Yeah.
trying to engage everybody. So everybody here gets it. If you're on the school board for a while, you start picking some of that stuff up. Nobody else has a clue what that
Yeah.
stuff means.
And I can do a better job, like, for instance, I noticed, like, in column D, I spelled out positive behavior intervention supports. I can do a better job of using a parenthesis and then letting people know it's, you know, or I think, to your point, Rick, a glossary is a really simple way to help people. It's a place for them to go. To
Or go to
take away
those
the jargon. Yep.
Go to those 8 community members and
Yeah.
people from the district and ask them what they think.
Yeah.
If they think, oh, it's no big deal, just leave it and
Sure.
forget I said anything.
Sure.
Just that it's not real clear to everybody when we're trying to gauge everybody.
Yep. Good feedback.
Okay, then move on to E, which is time for the board to request specific information, data, assistance in making government decisions. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up tonight?
I would like to circle back around to what Rick had brought up as far as the conference and the issue about the red, white, and blue. I'm gonna do from two perspectives. One being from the military side and then one from just my own observation. So of course, those will be kind of the opinion things. I support what the conference decided to do. I understand where Ron is coming from and where Bruce is coming from. Does it start to impede on what we call freedom of speech? Maybe. But just because there is something out there that allows us to express ourselves, is it something that has gotten to the point where it is no longer freedom of speech? It is out there to hurt each other. But yet we put it under that category of freedom of speech, so you can't take that away from me. And I think unfortunately this country has gotten to that point where it's no longer freedom of speech just to say something and it doesn't hurt anybody. It has become something where it is very hurtful and you can't stop me from doing it. That's my opinion. That's why I support what the conference has done. The other part, as far as from a military perspective, I lived for 20 years in the military with the understanding that I signed up, or at least I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Which means that everything in there, along with the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, that everybody had access to that and could do what they needed to within the law. But me as a military member did not have that. A lot of those, as far as within the first 10 amendments, were curtailed because I was in the military. I did not have necessarily freedom of speech because I was in the military. I did not have the right to bear arms because I was in the military. I did not have justice, expedited justice, because I was in the military. So I guess I've lived with that for 20 years. It's been 20 years since I've been out also, but I understand why you have that at certain things. It was me that decided to do that. I wasn't forced to join the military. It was me that accepted that during my time. And to see that at least there's a conference here that is a little concerned with the, I guess the elevation of politicizing certain things because of where we're at, the volatile nature of maybe what's going on right now during this election year. I strongly support what the conference has done. What's going to happen after that, I agree with you, Bruce. Do we continue with it? You know, if you're going to kind of sequester it for a short period of time, do we let it go for somebody to come back and say, well, wait a minute, now you took away my freedom of speech? I don't know what the conference is going to do. I agree with you. Does it look like that? Is it going to be one of those things where, yes, absolutely, we're going to just continue with this. We'll respect the flag, but a red, white, and blue theme throughout, we don't, I don't know. The conference has to come up with that. But as far as me, and this is just me, you know, as far as my opinion, and then also being in the military, I support what the conference did.
Thank you.
My only objection is November 4th or 5th, but it's election, 4th, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not the only one that doesn't know exactly.
Yeah.
If it ends on there, it just became political, just stop it altogether, especially if you're saying it's hurting somebody. I guess I must not know enough about it. I mean, I watch a lot of stuff and I read a lot of stuff. This is all new to me, but obviously it's against some candidate somewhere that we don't want it to be there. But nevertheless, if anybody's getting hurt, just stop it. But as soon as we put the end date of the election, we just made it all political. It's like, okay, who's getting who here?
I don't
Let's
disagree.
fix it.
Sure.
Exactly.
And we know politics didn't end with the end of the election,
Right.
Correct.
so maybe that just needs to be revisited at conference level and looked into.
Anyone else have any comments? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Rick,